Hi, my name is Vanessa, and today is going to be an extra special video slash podcast live that is very impromptu, and I'll get to why here in a minute. The podcast is available everywhere podcasts can be found. Videos available on LinkedIn, on Rumble, and on the YouTube platform. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. I prematurely shared my screen on something that I'm going to be sharing here in a minute. But basically, anyone who's basically watches my YouTube channel and been following along with like the playlists I put together to include ones called like Veterans Affairs, my saga, basically. Or maybe if you've caught on Rumble or somewhere else online, I don't know, you're going to become aware very quickly about my 10-year history with this organization. No need to really get into that. But today, I once again just kind of feel like I'm at the end of the line with the VA, specifically the Veterans Health Administration. And I'm going to get into why here in a minute. But I actually have decided I'm going to share some emails, some part of my medical record today that's been entered into that I have memorized from some people at the Veterans Health Administration, VHA, in Alexandria, Louisiana, Veterans Affairs Medical Center, because I just honestly find the statements and the behavior to be completely appalling. And it's not like my first encounter where I've seen this kind of appalling behavior I find appalling and offensive, and is really contrary to the national propaganda pumped out constantly. Okay. So I also, as a FYI, am only going to be doing like one VA related video per month, or a filming session per month, I've decided, because it's just way too much and too exhausting and energy depleting to be constantly like revisiting the VA drama on a daily basis like I was previously, because I just had so much to share and it was long overdue. But what I'm going to do is I may, because it covers multiple topics, a lot of the things I say in one video, may break it up by editing it and then schedule it out through the month. So it may seem like I'm doing more videos than what I'm actually doing. But for sure, I'm going to be doing one filming session per month is what I've decided to limit myself to. No more than one per month. And so this is the one for August 2021, and there will be one filming session for September 2021. One day I hope to get to the point where I am actually able to just cover news and politics surrounding the VA system. But at this point, I feel like I deal more with my own direct experience than with anything else, because there's just so much to share. All right, so the latest in the saga with the VA is basically they really enjoy being adversarial at the VHA, Veterans Health Administration in Louisiana, I've noticed, in this region. And not all the people, just to be clear, and not all the departments. There's one department in particular, it's absolutely amazing, and I can't even believe it's part of the same organization. It's so good. And the people that I've dealt with there are wonderful. They're doing their jobs. Things are going well. It's great. And then you have other people. And there's another department actually who's doing their job too, and they were great and all that good stuff. But there's multiple departments I've dealt with. And the first one I'll name is primary care throughout the Louisiana region, which has just been this like total mess to deal with ongoing. It's just been one thing after another. And I'm actually going to cover some of that right now that I don't have in my paperwork, because I was meaning to cover it anyways. So some of the things I've dealt with through the past several months that have just led to a lot of problems, to include but not limited to, they definitely have recruitment and retention issues at the Veterans Health Administration Louisiana, in their primary care, but also I've noticed elsewhere in at least one other department I've identified, and I'm going to leave that unnamed. And so there have been issues where I literally had 2 different appointments in the past number of months canceled because they like did not have anyone to backfill the position when the primary care provider canceled, like when they called in sick or whatever, didn't show up that day. Okay. And that's expected to happen. Like, I get it. Like, I'm a behavioral health care provider. Like, I totally understand that stuff happens. Everyone needs a break. For God's sakes, I wrote the book, Burnout, Self-Care for Behavioral Health Conditions. Okay. I get everybody needs a break. but you're supposed to be able to backfill those positions when you're in a sizable organization like the VHA that receives billions of dollars every freaking year. And the fact that they're not able to do that and they have to cancel last minute on patients shows to me that there's a serious recruitment retention issue, which I already knew exists because I used to work for the organization 6 years ago, approximately. And because of whistleblower retaliation and civil rights violations and other mismanagement issues that are well publicized, for anyone that wants to pay attention to it, I do believe that's a contributing factor 100,000% to the recruitment and retention issues of quality people and not being able to recruit them, not being able to retain them. Okay. So the first primary care provider I had in this region, the VA, really had a high opinion of them, really thought they were great. She quit her job before I was able to see her again, maybe about a year later. Okay, I understand people move on, people quit, got it, totally understand. Well, then it just was like one problem after another from there. The new provider that was there, like, it was just, there was just like, I'm not even gonna get into it. It was just not a good situation. So then I tried to follow the provider to the new place they went to, which was the women's clinic at the Veterans Health Administration, Alexandria, Louisiana. And literally, as soon as I got an appointment to see the person, they quit their job again. Like, I can't even make this up. They quit their job again. And I don't know if they're still with the VA. I don't know if they went to a different clinic. I don't even care at this point. It doesn't even matter. So I end up basically getting another new healthcare provider at that point and seeing that person. And honestly, there were issues right away, even just trying to schedule an appointment. Like I said, one of the appointments got canceled because they couldn't backfill the position. I mean, it's just on and on and on. They literally have a total lack of staff, basically, in these key areas of primary care, is what I'll say, particularly for primary care providers. And I will cover this here in a minute, but I just really wish that I could literally be given the cash that's being spent on all this mayhem at the VHA and primary care and be able to just make my own healthcare decisions outside the VHA, because there are some really excellent options outside the VHA and the private sector online with telehealth and even in certain communities that are totally superior to anything the VHA is ever going to offer me in Louisiana. That is, I know for sure, in primary care and a couple of their other departments. And unfortunately, because I'm dealing with what feels like just some bad healthcare plan, that's not an option, because even their so-called community care network, it's pretty limited, especially where I live. There's just a total lack of options. So because of the mayhem and everything, I'm in a situation where I'm basically getting pushed out of the VA because the problems are so significant. I'm going to go over them here in a minute in my paperwork. And I'm basically having to pay out of pocket for healthcare that I shouldn't have to pay out of pocket for. I should be able to get through the VA. I'm also having to go through another healthcare system I shouldn't have to go through. I should be able to go through the VA. But because of the bad behavior that I've been dealing with, the lack of advocacy, the adversarial behavior, the choice to work against me and not with me to obtain the most basic healthcare, I'm being left with no other option. And for those of you that are veterans that are watching this, I would just like to know, are you experiencing this type of behavior? Think about it when you're watching this video in your region of the country with your VHA, Veterans Health Administration. Please let me know. I really, really would like to know. Of course, no, everything you say is totally public. Nothing's private. And so please keep that in mind with your commentary and whatnot. I was trying to find a banner to put up about VHA, Veterans Health Administration, but I can't find it. So anyways, whatever. But yeah, I would like to know, because I heard from one veteran and it sounded like that in their region of the country, it is a way better situation with primary care and some of the other departments than it is here in Louisiana. And when I called the White House hotline, like the people, I can't even believe that the people that work there are hired by the VA, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, because they're so nice, 99% of them. And they're so, like, they actually seem to really care. And they're really wanting to advocate. Most of them seem to want to advocate for veterans and to really help you out. And that is not what I see here in Louisiana in primary care and with a couple of their other departments. And once again, one of the departments I've dealt with are completely amazing. A couple of departments are pretty great. But there's some departments that are just a sloppy hot mess. And it's just like, oh my God, what is going on? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get to it. So okay, let's see these emails I'm looking at. Okay, so in one email that was sent to me where I'm inquiring about why have I not received basically the medical service that was placed in as an order by my primary care provider at the time, and that I was requesting, and what's most upsetting is this is a part of a well-established pattern of behavior too, where they have literally, the VHA in Louisiana, blown me off, totally ignored me, like with medical requests that were totally legal and legitimate, and just won't even tell me they denied the request. They won't even tell me. I literally have to reach out to them to find out. I literally had an appointment canceled by primary care. And that was at a local clinic here that belongs to the VA. And I received a letter in the mail, auto-generated. No one called me. No one emailed me. No one followed up with me. Nothing. They just canceled it because they couldn't backfill the appointment. I later found out. But I had to reach out and find that out. And that is a part of the problematic behavior that I've been dealing with for months now at the Veterans Health Administration, VHA, in Louisiana with some of their departments, namely primary care, and a couple of departments that interact with primary care. They literally just have no regard or consideration in some cases for me as a patient in the most basic, common courtesy kind of ways. And being someone that is involved in other people's healthcare services through the many years I've been doing this, I know that's unacceptable. And I'm so appalled by it. Okay, so I received this email after reaching out to one of the departments, and they basically said, I'm redacting some of this for my own privacy. Authorization entered by your provider, not approved. Your provider can appeal this decision to the chief of staff if appropriate. You can ask your provider about this process if needed. Thank you in advance. Okay, so I have a lot of issues with that email right there. The fact is, this is a part of well-established behavior I've seen at the VHA in Louisiana, where they will just, not tell you something's been denied till you reach out. I reached out, found out it was denied. And then instead of helping to advocate for the patient, which was me in this case, they just totally very dismissive, blow me off, giving me the runaround, and very disempowering to me as the patient. Like, this is behavior that I really question the ethics of, because everything I've ever learned in my own training has taught me that you advocate for the best interest of the person that you are working with. And these people are in the healthcare profession at the Veterans Health Administration, VHA. And you would think that that would be a priority and a consideration, but for some reason, it never is in this region of the country with primary care and a couple of the other departments I've been dealing with. Okay, and this just happened in the last number of days. This message I just read, the censored version of it, August 11th, 2021, all right, 8:13 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, so that's message one. So we got that out of the way. Message two, August 12th, 2021, 8:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. So at this point, this department has found out that I'm advocating for myself and I'm not going to just let this go. So they go ahead and send me another message and they say, this was reviewed by clinical blah, 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 in conjunction with VA guidelines and criteria for use if applicable. If the decision by blah, blah, blah is not acceptable, there's an appeal process the provider can initiate. Again, giving me the runaround and not being empowering to the patient. And that's unacceptable. So then I don't even know what date this email is. It might be the same date. I'm not sure. But this came from primary care department in the Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center. Okay. One of the primary care departments I was dealing with. All right. And so the person tells me that basically they were told to tell me, because you just got to love the lack of communication from the healthcare provider to the patient, right? Just like, We're not going to communicate because we're the VA. We do what we want. And I'll be honest with you. I just want to be clear. There are people in the VA that do an exceptional job, and I've met and worked with some of them, and some of them are currently involved in my healthcare. And to you, I thank you for your service as a healthcare provider and doing your job, which is more than I can say for some of these other people in the VHA Louisiana region of this country in the Veterans Health Administration, okay? But for those that are not, you should be ashamed of yourself, but I know you're not because you have no shame. All right, so basically, provider states will not be placing an appeal with the chief of staff. That it was denied the order that was put in, and that it will not be appealed, this decision. Okay, and then they go on to make a false statement about like something in my medical record, which they clearly didn't read my medical record. Oh my God, didn't read my medical record. And so this just kind of ensues into chaos from here because, well, I'll get into it. So I wrote this letter and I sent it after dealing with mayhem and drama for the last 2 business days now. I think it was last Friday and then this Monday I've been dealing with this drama, if I remember correctly. And it's all over, you would not believe, the most simplistic, basic healthcare stuff. Okay, this is not like high level here, what I'm dealing with. Like, this is not high level. This is like a low threshold level issue. And this is part of a pattern of behavior I've been dealing with Veterans Health Administration. It's well established at this point in this region of the country, trying to access the most basic, minuscule, minute healthcare. And I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. So I wrote this letter after talking to a number of people today and getting the runarounds and having my day interrupted and my time sucked up once again by the VHA people. And I sent it to, well, I'll read it. I've redacted very little of it because I haven't needed to redact much of it. Okay, so it's, oh, hey, Dwayne. Yeah, I'm going on my tirade over here, so feel free to comment, and you can go ahead and add whatever you have to add. In fact, you can join me if you want. If you're watching this, Dwayne, you can literally join me. Like I'll zoom you right on. I actually have an invite link I can just give you, and you can just give me your 2 cents on the situation because I'd love to talk. In fact, I'm going to see if I can chat with you. In real time and send you this link. All right, I'm messaging Dwayne right now. To see if he wants to hop on here with me to share his own thoughts, because I'm sure he has thoughts. Okay, Dwayne, don't know if you're watching this, but I went ahead and sent you the link in real time on LinkedIn. So go ahead and you're going to hop on here and join me if you want, to give me your thoughts. In the meantime, I'm going to start reading my letter that I've blasted out to everyone and their mother over there at the VA. Okay. All right. Looks like you saw my message. All right. So I'm going to read this in real time. Well, I'm sure I might wait for Dwayne to show up so that he can hear all of it. Oh, so good. So good, this water. All right. All right. Right there. All right. Well, while I'm waiting, I'm going to go start reading. To whom it may concern, this is Vanessa Leck. I've sent this to the patient advocate and to all other relevant parties in seeking to elevate this message out of the local VA above all VA management at Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center. I've noticed what is clearly a well-established pattern of behavior of dismissive and adversarial behavior from people working in primary care and then 2 other departments which will remain unnamed in this Louisiana region of the VA. I'm still seeking basically to have this medical service provided, this need met. And I'm dealing with well-established pattern of behavior of dismissiveness. It is, Dwayne, I messaged you on your LinkedIn, the link. So I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, you did. Okay. Let's see. It is clear that this, oh, there you are. Hey, Dwayne, let me go ahead and do something that's a little bit better with the setup here. Oh, that's not so good with the view. Okay, let me take off my banner here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
All right, let's see. Let's see where. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's see. All right, private chat brand. Banners. All right, let me see. I'm trying to like show our names here. I normally don't even do that because I always have my little overlays, and I'm trying to like show the people's names.
Yeah, I've been trying to make those overlays in Canva for the past.
How's it going with you?
Everything is good. Just been busy. I was actually, my wife said, "You headed to the gym?" And I took a nap, and I was like, "Yeah." Then I was like, "Let me check a couple of emails," and I was like, "Oh man, she's live." So, I had to respond.
Okay, I can't get the names, but for those of you watching, anyone who watches this, I'm basically gonna have to edit this because it's like so many interruptions and stuff I've done, but I'm used to editing stuff, so it's fine. But so this is Dwayne, okay? To tell them about your YouTube channel that you have so you can introduce yourself. I don't have the correct overlay, so we're just gonna have to wing it.
Yep. My name is Dwayne Kimball. You can find me on YouTube. My name, Dwayne Kimball, D-W-A-Y-N-E, Kimball, K-I-M-B-L-E. I'm the owner of KMD89, VA Claims Consulting, Leave No Vet Behind, and also I'm a United States Army veteran. I do apologize for my attire. Like I said earlier, I was headed to the gym and was checking a couple of emails, and I saw you on, so I definitely wanted to support. But my videos, I educate veterans on the VA disability compensation claims process, so they may be able to maximize their benefits from being educated on the process and to alleviate that frustration.
Got it. Okay, I found the display name, so your name and mine are fine displayed. Figured that one out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back and read this letter. So, Dwayne, it's pretty scathing, and I would love to hear your thoughts. That's actually why I messaged you on LinkedIn, because I wanted to know your experiences just to be clear, what I messaged Dwayne on LinkedIn, so everyone knows the question before he answers it, before I read this letter, is I was trying to find out, does Dwayne receive, because he's a veteran, does he receive any health care of any kind, of any sort in his region of the country? Because I know he's in a different, for sure, region than me, and I was wondering if he had, or if he hadn't, how long ago was it last he received it? And if he had at all, what his experiences were with the behavior compared to mine, which I'm about to share. Because I really today feel like I've hit my wit's end again. And I want to keep in mind, I'm not disclosing like everything in my medical record or whatever. I've censored some of this, but like the stuff I'm seeking is really low threshold medical care. Okay. It's really basic. This is not for like cancer, not a terminal illness. This is really basic entry-level healthcare, and I've had so many problems. All right, so today I sent this to all the relevant departments. I needed to see it because I've noticed they've got pattern behavior where they're dodging me, ignoring me, blowing me off. I think they do this to other veterans, and I want people to know. I want them to know that you're not getting rid of me, okay? I'm not going away that easy, and if I do, I want to make sure that the public understands the truth, okay, at least about this region. All right, to whom it may concern, this is Vanessa Leck. I've sent this to the patient advocate and to all other relevant parties seeking to elevate this message out of the local VA above all VA management, Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center. I've noticed what is clearly a well-established pattern of behavior of dismissive and adversarial behavior from people working in primary care to other departments I'm censoring in this Louisiana region of the VA. I'm still seeking basically to meet a specific healthcare need, and I'm dealing with a well-established pattern of behavior of dismissiveness. It is clear that this region of the VHA in the primary care and a couple other departments choose to be adversarial in my attempts to obtain healthcare instead of working with me. And I want to point this out, Dwayne. I'm going to pause here real quick and say I point this out because I've been paying for healthcare to meet some of my needs outside the VA, and these people have been amazing to me. They've been amazing. They've worked with me. They don't take up much of my time. And it's a completely opposite experience 100% of the time with outside the VA. And I just think that it's just so much of a contrast to what I've been putting up with, which makes me even. Oh, we got a comment, by the way. Paul Rains is saying, thanks, Vanessa and Dwayne, for all of your help to us vets. So I just want to show the comment. Thanks for watching. All right, so let me get back to this letter. Okay, it is clear that this region of the VA and the primary care and this other department choose to be adversarial in my attempts to obtain healthcare instead of working with me. I redacted a certain sentence because it's private health information that I don't want to disclose. I continue to be dismissed, receive the runaround, and not have all of my needs met. I'm tired of this horrible behavior and is contrary to the VHA Veterans Health Administration propaganda being pushed out daily at the National Veterans Health Administration level, VHA, touting how VHA cares for all of its veterans. This is false. This is far from the truth. I fully plan to once again publicly advocate for change, exposing this problematic pattern of behavior publicly by reading portions of my medical record recently entered in by this department and emails written by this primary care clinic and this other department at the Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center. The VHA Veterans Health Administration has wasted countless hours of my time and even my money through the past several months due to the horrible people that work in Louisiana, VHA's primary care and two other departments that have worked against me whenever possible in my efforts to receive much needed health care. I actually have now paid hundreds of dollars out of my own pocket to obtain urgently needed medical care outside the VHA because of the incompetence, lack of regard from people in primary care in these other two departments. This is shameful. After taking not one or two, but 3 phone calls today alone and other calls last week, it is clear that no one in the Veterans Health Administration, primary care, and these other two departments, or the VHA Alexandria, Louisiana leadership want to take responsibility and do their jobs. It's sad. It is clear, as I publicly stated months ago, that there are many people in the VHA that should not be working there. I wish that I could take the money that is being wasted on the compensation of these people and actually choose exactly where I would receive my care. I can assure you the value of the healthcare services received would be higher and the money spent would be lower. I'm also tired of certain individuals in primary care in this other department encouraging me to essentially go outside the VA for healthcare on my own dime because they don't feel like doing their jobs, despite the fact that I am legally eligible for healthcare at the VA, and despite the fact that billions of dollars are being poured into VHA annually to fund veterans healthcare. This further proves that the VHA is a largely self-serving, multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded enterprise, not here to serve veterans, but instead to serve themselves, as some, in parentheses, you know who you are if you're watching this right now, okay? Say, quote, thank you for your service, end quote, in a dismissive manner, trying to rush me off the phone line. You know who you are. It happened today. Okay, it happened today in primary care at the Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center. If you record these calls, you would know it. And it's not the first time it's happened at that facility. And it needs to stop. Louisiana VHA primary care and two other departments, you should be ashamed, but you're not because you have no shame. These are my words. Place this in my medical record. I insist. Vanessa Leck. So that's what I had to say. I'd love to hear your uncensored thoughts. Agree, disagree, whatever.
You know, I think you said something earlier about, you know, the VA employees there, they're actually doing the right thing. And I, you know, I believe that. And I've ran into a few that were just, you know, what you talked about just now. And it gives, you know, it's sad, but I think the majority that do that, it's a small percentage, but that just sheds a larger negative light on the other larger percentage of employees that do positive things. I can remember early on, I would go to the ENT clinic at the Tampa VA Medical Center. really nice staff. The doctors were nice. The nurses were nice. The individual at the front desk, when you would come out and the doctor say, schedule another appointment,
Mm-hmm.
he would not ask you, hey, your availability. He would just say, here's
Mm-hmm.
your next appointment. So one time I said, look, I was like, hey, dude, I was like, no, this doesn't work for me. I work during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me. I would appreciate if you ask me
Mm-hmm.
my availability. Would I prefer, AM, early morning, late morning, or early or late afternoon? He was like, well, I don't do that here. Oh, no, 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 no. So I was like, let me speak to your supervisor. So I expressed that to that supervisor, and she was like, sure. She jumped on a computer. But the moral of the story is he was still doing that to vets,
Mm-hmm.
because I would go to other departments and it wasn't like that. They
Mm-hmm.
would, they'd be like, Mr. Kimball, the doctor would like to see you back. What works, he wants you to come back in 3 months. Would you still like the same time frame? We like, go through early morning, late morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, because they're respectful. If you work or something like that, if you work evenings, then they would try and get you in the morning. But this gentleman, he didn't care. He for whatever reason, and so I had an outside ENT doctor, and I had private medical insurance. So I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with that. I'm just going to go to my own ENT specialist. It's
Mm-hmm.
closer to
Mm-hmm.
my home, so I was able to, I could get in a lot faster. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, I was when I left that message to you earlier. I had an employee. I was filing a claim on the VHA side, and she was just. I mean, I can remember going to her like years earlier, and I was unclear about the process. So I just
Mm-hmm.
went in. I was still a VA employee, but I was on the VBA side at the time. And I went into her office and I stuck my ID card because you have to wear it like a little clip, a
Mm-hmm.
little plastic thing. So I took it off and I put it in my pocket because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want her to know I was a VA employee. So I was just inquiring about the process because I was unclear. And she was like, oh, well, you haven't came in and got a new device in 24 months. And I'm like, well, it's still operable. It works. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to come in and get something and have the VA spend this money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're just going to get denied because you should have came back in. So I was like, you're okay with people wasting money.
Yeah.
And I remember filing a complaint years later, filing a complaint, and I actually got some resolution because when I called the VA White House hotline, I was like, I knew the person's name of their supervisor, and I was like, hey, this is ridiculous. I'm like, when you VA adjudicators, when they're making decisions, there's a 38 CFR that states you are not to let your personal feelings get involved. Regardless. Even I work for the VA, I was like, I would question stuff, but it wasn't my place.
Right.
If the vet met all the guidelines, then who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you saw something and you was like, okay, this is just flat out fraud or whatever, then that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But just because you feel some type of way, you get I think, what do the young kids say, you all up in your feelings or something like that,
Yeah.
then you got to put that to the side. But and I've had to call the VA White House hotline twice. And on my YouTube channel, when I go live and I talk to veterans, I tell them, a lot of the comments that I get, and I end up telling them, look, you have to take responsibility. If you sit back, do nothing, say nothing, this will continue.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to write letters to directors. When I
Mm-hmm.
went in for one of my CMP exams, the doctor, he made a comment, and I'll share with you. He said, um, all you people naturally big. Now at the time I was, I just got into CrossFit, so I have an athletic build. I wasn't obese or anything. And so
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the director, and guess what? I got a response back, but I knew nothing was going to happen to this employee, because some employees, and I even had this when I was still there,
Mm-hmm.
I had insurance on my job through Star Right Insurance, just because I
Yeah.
was like,
You told
management,
you told me about that.
yeah. It's flaky. So a lot of people have that. So, and
Yeah.
then, some locations, the union is stronger than
Yeah.
other locations.
Yeah.
So does the attitude change? And then I got to thinking, well, if employees have that insurance and it's not a fireable offense, what is the recourse, that supervisor has when something like this happens other than just talking to them, but
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I used to work at VHA's about 6 years ago. And anyways, I get it. But I mean, as a veteran, I'm really tired of dealing with it. This is my 10th year of interacting in some way, shape, or form with the VA. I mean, keep in mind, some years the interaction was like negligible, if any at all, if you want to even call it an interaction. But I really, like I said in the letter, I really want the money that they're giving these people because they just keep hiring more people to fuel the bureaucracy in my location. They got a new administrative type supervisor I've heard from recently who has no idea what's going on. And it's just one more person in this layer of a cake that I just can't seem to cut through. And I wish I could just have the money because there's a really good women's clinic where I get my dental care in San Antonio, Texas, about 8 hours from me. Because yes, I'm in that remote of location. They're not in a network with the VA, but they're really good, I believe. And I would just prefer to go there because I think I would be dealing with people I could trust. And I've reached the point I don't trust these people at all anymore, and I don't want them anywhere near me.
have you
And
tried asking them to outsource some of the treatment? A VA
yeah,
employee there was telling me, I would go in and get a knee brace, and
yeah.
she was really nice. And it's crazy because she was so nice, and now I can't even find her. They move her around so much, and the individuals they still have in that office, it's just like pulling teeth. I was there at an outpatient clinic last week, and I was turning in a claim for something, and the lady was like, "Oh, we don't need this part of the we got this on file." I said, "Well, you know what? I'm leaving it in there because it's part of my
Okay.
claim, and I go through this every year that they say we don't have this on record. We don't have this on record. So if I know that I turned it in, then it's of record." And then I was like, "Well, I need, I put in my private primary care, put in a referral for something,
Hmm.
for some shoe inserts," and I was like, I want to pick them up." And she shows me the sign, and it's like, make an appointment. And I'm like, so I'm 5 miles away. Do you expect me to see this sign from home before I came in? And I'm like, and then every time I call, you guys never pick up. So I have to drive over here. And
So
so
you're
one of
having
the,
different problems. You're having this is
yeah,
a like different problem. I fortunately haven't had those problems. You're having like different problems than me.
right. But you know what? The common denominator is it's a problem that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so one of the texts there, he turned everything around. He walked up. He was like, "Oh, you just need some inserts? Oh, I'll get those for you right now." It took 2 seconds, but
Yeah.
she wanted
Yeah.
me to go and make an appointment, and I didn't need them to show me how to take my shoe off and
Hmm.
stick the insert in the right one and another insert in the left one.
Hmm.
But it was just, I was just like, it's something that just could have took 2 seconds. She could have got
Hmm.
him. Here you go. Went in the
Hmm.
computer, updated it, and he picked them up. And that
Hmm.
was it.
Yeah.
Luckily it was another VA employee there to
Yeah.
offset that and was like, "Hey, I could take him, I'll get him squared away.
Yeah.
So
Well, I had a primary care. So I'll get to the thing about the outsourcing here in a minute. I'll address that. But first, I want to say I had a primary care provider that I saw here locally at a local VA clinic who I had a very high opinion of a while ago. I don't go to the doctor every day. So by the time I needed to go again, about a year later, that provider had quit their job. And they had a different provider who was not, it was not the same experience. So then I found out the provider had gone to a location at the Alex, Louisiana primary care out there, a location out there. So I went ahead and got transferred out there. As soon as I got the appointment, she quit again. She quit her job again. And at
wow.
that point, I just gave up. I'm like, I just feel like I'm like, I don't, I just, this feels weird. I'm following this person around. And I don't know if they're still with the VA or they went to another clinic. I don't know, but they just kept quitting. And I just couldn't keep up with them anymore. So that was one issue. As far as the outsourcing outside the VA, I looked into that. So the network they have, which is basically the glorified insurance panel network situation, it is really meager in my area, in the entire state that I live in, basically. I mean, I would have to drive hours and hours, and even then, I don't even know if there's enough of like participating healthcare providers to like even make it a go. And so I think that it works potentially better if you're in a larger city. You know what I mean? Like maybe the area you're in, I don't know. But in my area, and we're talking about routine primary care here, we're not talking about specialty. The options are just like nothing. Like there's just nothing. Literally, they don't even have a primary care provider and network anywhere near me. But they do have, I think, an endocrinologist. I think I saw that. So don't need that service. But that's just kind of an example of kind of limitations. But I really could, if I could just get the money they're paying all these people, I would love to do it just out of proving a point. I already have the locations and some of the stuff I've paid out of pocket for already, even online healthcare services, which have been amazing. I'm still receiving some of them because the VA just is not helpful and it's real basic stuff. It's like dermatology because I've got some skin issues. That's an example. And I really think that I could do it like a fraction of the cost. And I just find it interesting because these healthcare providers, they're medical doctors that I've been working with over the last number of months because I had to go outside the VA. I never have a problem with them. They're always nice to me. They're always helpful. And the customer service I receive through these companies, they're so good. They say things like, hey, we want to make sure that you are seen and you are heard. Like literally, they write that down and say it. They like will say, oh, there's a treatment plan ready for you to review. Let us know if you agree with it. If not, we'll make sure that your doctor works with you to a plan that you're comfortable with. Like that's the way I get treated. But when I'm at the VA, I get treated like garbage. And to be clear, there's one department that's really nice. They're really nice. I'm not going to name which them, but they're not primary care. They're a different department. And they've been great.
A question. I know that because I was at the VBA, there was an issue with files being lost, files being thrown away. And some VA employees went before Congress. It was a committee, I think some type of committee oversight hearing. And then some managers went before them. And some of the managers, I think, one, play at the fifth or something like that. But have you ever looked into, I think it's Congress has a VA oversight, reaching out to them, sending letters to not just the committee, but the individuals that sit on that committee.
I'm going to grab a pen and my charger. I'm going to make notes of this so I remember to follow up about that. What I will say before I grab my pen though, is that I have reached out to members of Congress, but not specifically that approach. Like Mike Johnson actually did help me, and I really helped myself because I was just so proactive with the issue a number of months ago. That was kind of similar to stuff I've been dealing with now. And I did reach out. Mike Johnson's legislative office, when I think about it, in DC for this region of the country, about kind of what I've been talking about veterans just having more choices to be able to pick and choose where they get their healthcare. And they have currently, last I checked, actually did some video / podcast on it, some legislation pending about all this stuff. And I laugh because, oh my God, these people are slow. Like I looked at the legislation, like I was learning how to track the bill from like creation to like the steps. And like it was created like, I want to say a year before I found it. Then it took like 3 to 5 months to pass it from like political group to political group inside of Congress. And it just would sit there for like 3 to 5 months. And so currently it was just pending, sitting around waiting to be reviewed. And of course, now with, the like stuff happening, as we know with Afghanistan, like not even trying to get into that, but like we all know what's going on. There's always a competing agenda. You know what I mean? And so it's like, there is stuff pending that would address some of these issues that we're talking about, but that's the thing, it's pending. It's not actioned. Right. So, but I am going to get my pen and paper and write down notes about your suggestions so that I make sure I do this. So, all right, I got my chargers plugged in so my computer won't die. Got my notes. All right, and you said it was a VA oversight committee? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Okay, I can Google
They had,
that.
yeah, they, and that was back when um, VBA, they were having a lot of issues with the backlog of claims. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
I saw it on. It wasn't CNN. What is it? Was it CSNBC where they? It was something I can't remember what it was. Another VA employees. It was like emails going around like, "Hey, check this out. I know this particular VA employee. And we all would watch it at home and come back to work and talk about it." But what is that? I want to say it's CNBC where they televise a lot of the different hearings and stuff,
Yeah,
and that's what it was because the VBA was going through this huge thing about the backlog of claims. So I don't know if it was
I
just a
remember
dog
that. And
they
they're
showed.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
They have some kind of committee for oversight. I'm not sure. It might be the one you're talking about. They really need to learn how to spice up their videos. Let me tell you, because like they're not
yeah,
doing themselves any favors if they're trying to get the constituency involved at all.
yeah,
But it was like a
and
3 hour long video, and they were
yeah.
talking about the current like appeals process. That I think that was it AMA. Is that it?
It could have been. It could have been. It'd been some years ago.
No.
Uh,
This is current. This is current.
oh,
I
okay,
just
okay.
saw it.
No,
Is the current appeal system called AMA?
yeah, they changed it. Yeah, it's AMA, but that's what they were talking about, the new
Yeah.
because used to be a call appeals was the high level review.
Well,
Now the AMA process.
there's that still, but the politicians that were on YouTube and they were like doing a live like meeting like via, kind of like we're doing but different
Mhm,
about
mhm.
this. And they were talking about the current state of like VBA appeals for veterans and timeliness or lack thereof in the process, like as it stands, like in right now in real time. And
Right,
I was just flipping through it, but yeah. Anyways.
right. So another thing is I get emails like every week and a half from the local VA medical center that I'm within my jurisdiction. And I talked about this on one of my YouTube. No, I had a veteran town hall,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I was talking uh, in the veteran town hall that I had. It was live in a live Q&A that I had. I was talking about what about I hear a lot of veterans concerns as it
Mm-hmm.
pertains to the benefit side, and I was like, have any of you elected to get into some of these town halls? And I didn't think I was going to get a response. And people were just like, I try to get in there. They don't take any of your questions. And these are people at the level that they can
Oh,
actually do
really?
something. So I'm like, well, how can you have a town hall and talk and not listen to the people that you're serving?
Are these the
You
town?
know,
Just let me clarify. Are the town halls you're talking about, are they the ones that are at the facility level for veterans to participate in? Is that what you mean?
well, it's the past year it's been done by Zoom, and they'll say
Yeah,
sign up for this town hall,
right.
and I never signed up for one, so I don't know. They'll have like the speaker or who's going to be talking and stuff like that,
But
but
it's
I
but it's
never.
about the facility, right? The VHA
Right,
facility.
correct, yeah,
Okay. I
mhm,
just want to make sure it
yeah,
wasn't like the Visit or somewhere higher.
yeah. They'll. Well, I think the individuals are out of DC, but they're on the VHA side.
Oh,
you
I
know
see.
so they're
National.
in positions, yeah, they're in position to do something you know but I think whenever you get a new administration, you're going to get a new secretary.
Yeah.
Then things are going to change. They're going to be like, hey, uh we can do some things better, we're going to do this, and I think that's where the people have 4 years to do something. And is that
I don't
enough time?
mhm. I don't put
Go
too
ahead.
much weight on the secretaries of the VAs. I just view them as political figureheads because they just get fired every single time one of the presidents leave or before then. You know what I mean? I can barely keep
Right.
up. The secretaries of the VA have changed so many times in the last 10 years. You know, I mean, I have because I'm heavily invested, obviously, in the military community, but I can barely keep up. But I know what you're talking about. I've never been able to attend one, and it's not through my own lack of effort. In recent time, like this year, I wanted to be more engaged and wanted to attend one of those virtually. I love attending things virtually. Obviously, I'm here right now with you. And
Right.
they failed to notify the veterans that would have been eligible to attend. They failed to notify
Right.
us. And I had proactively been trying to address this with the Alexandria, Louisiana leadership, who ignored me, obviously, months and months and months ago. And then I found out after the fact, I forget how I found out. I found out online that they had, sure enough, had a virtual town hall, and I'd never been notified. And I'm very plugged in. So if I'm not notified, I'm willing to bet a bunch of other people weren't notified too. And so,
Right.
I put in a bunch of reports and complaints about this through the necessary channels inside and outside the facility. And, I don't think anything really would become of it. The new AO, this administrative supervisor person, this person I've spoken to recently, she said that she notified the public affairs officer, PAO, to do a better job about that. But, this right here just goes back to like, I quit working at the VA because I could not deal with the level of just high drama and stuff with it. And
Right.
this is why, like, I only speak for myself here and no other veteran, okay? But like, I just really would like to get a piece of that money that they're paying all these useless people in my care so I can just go and just outsource it. 'Cause I don't want to deal with these people and their civil service system, or they're hiring whatever, or they're firing whatever, or they're 15 layers of bureaucracy in their cake. I just want to get my health care. Okay. Like, that's it. I want to get my health care. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to protect my well-being and proactively. That's what I'm trying to do. And it is not helping my health care to deal with this.
Right. It just sounds like it could be your location. Like I said, I talk to a lot of veterans every day, and they'll ask me VHA questions, and I'm like, hey, I I can only speak on some of my experiences and maybe what I heard other veterans say about what their experiences are. But definitely, there's enough, I think, so forth as complaints from veterans to somewhere somebody can say, okay, we need to make a difference, because they'll throw up a huge parking lot. They'll throw up a new
Dwayne, I'm going to
building.
pause you real quick. So we got another comment. Paul
Yeah.
Rain said, yes, you can listen to the town hall. I think they pre-screened the question. I have listened by phone call. The last one I listened to was about COVID-19. So I just want to acknowledge that because I put it on the screen. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, they put a lot of money in, buildings, and I think Tampa, did a huge parking garage, which was needed because you had to
Okay.
park at a mall and then get on a bus, and they take you a couple blocks down to the VA. So the
Yeah.
parking lot was needed. Then they had a new spine center built with a lot of offices and rehabilitation and all that prosthetics in there, which is
Mhm.
really nice. But again, if the level of care isn't there, what does all that mean?
Yeah, no,
And
I
I think
agree. It's because you can't buy the qualities and attributes needed or skills necessarily just through cash loan when you have such broken systems that are being implemented. And that's why I say, I'm just ready to like cut ties and just be done with this kind of stuff. And
uh,
it upsets me. Like, as recently as today, I had a VA healthcare worker at the Alice VA tell me on the phone, basically encouraging me to like go outside the VA and just figure it out. And it's like,
uh,
then what the hell are you here for? What the hell are the tax dollars being paid to you for? And a lot of this is just, it's like I'm a living, breathing case study on this stuff. And I'm very curious because I will be relocating this coming summer, 2022 is what's anticipated, to another region. You best believe I'm going to go visit that regional VA to check it out. You know what I mean? Because I'm like really like an experiment. I'm like a guinea pig over here. I want to see
right.
like what's up over here. Is this just like what's going on?
You're tugging on that, like that, that on your sweater, you start tugging on it and just keep pulling and keep pulling. But as you talk about this, I'm remembering things interactions I had. I remember I had a shoulder injury a couple of years back, and this was right before COVID. And my appointment was the day they stopped accepting patients, and they were like,
"Oh, because of COVID."
Right.
Okay.
So the physician assistant, she wasn't an orthopedic surgeon. She was a physician assistant. And she said, hey, you got really lucky because after the day, we're not seeing any more individuals in person. Mm-hmm. So we had this conversation. She was like, oh, in order for you to see an orthopedic surgeon, you need to get a cortisone shot. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I had one in the elbow about a year ago, and it just really hurt. I don't know if I had like some type of allergic reaction to it.
But I'm not familiar with those.
Right. Or they hit a nerve. And she missed the whole thing about it possibly could have been an allergic reaction.
Oh.
It was like, you have to get it. And I said, well, let's talk about that for a second. Can you show me the VA's regulation where it is mandatory for veterans in order to see an orthopedic surgeon that one of the requirements is a cortisone shot? Can you show that to me? Or bring an orthopedic surgeon in here and tell me that to my face? But I don't want to see it in an email. And verbally, you can say anything, but that doesn't make it true. I want to see in a regulation. Mm-hmm. Well, I've never been asked that before. Well,
the person said that to you? They'd never been asked that before?
Yeah. I said, I'm that guy.
I had the same situation, not the same because your health stuff's different than mine, but I had the same situation as far as being told by a certain department, we've never had this request before. And then this is what they told me. And I didn't think it was a big deal until now, since I've gotten this request denied. They said, we work with a mostly male population. And so because it was female specific, we've never had that request before, but go ahead and put it in. Then it got denied.
I tell you, the thing, it was crazy when, months later, when they start seeing patients again, I go in and I see an orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
So guess what the first question when she asked me, she's like, do you have any questions? I was like, yeah. I say, when I was here last time, I was told in order to see you, I had to get a cortisone shot. I didn't get one. And I asked to see the regulation. And the orthopedic surgeon says, there is no requirement that you have to get a cortisone shot. And she went on to say, I don't like giving cortisone shots. And I'm like, well, this person, this physician assistant was just saying stuff. I'm like, then they want to throw all this medication at you. I'm like, no, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. I just wanted, some multivitamins, some B12s.
How do they react to you when you communicate your preferences there in that situation?
They ask me why, and I tell them I don't want to end up in the Betty Ford clinic. And then
is Betty Ford an addiction rehab place? Is that what that is? Yeah, I think I've heard of it. Celebrities go there, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, I didn't want to take all this stuff, but years prior to that, I was having migraines.
Okay.
So I go in and they give me this medication.
Okay.
So I went to an outside neurologist and I was a new patient. So they say, bring your medications with you. So I put them in a little shaving kit and took them. And the doctor took it out of the room. He came back and he was like, hey, where did you get this? And I'm like, it says on there, the VA.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, can I throw these away? And I was like, yeah, but why? I said, I don't take them anymore, but I took them for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't feeling too good after I took them. He was like, they stopped manufacturing these 4 years ago. I was like,
why?
And I was like, wow. I was like, and it was ignorance on my part because now.
But why did they stop? Why did they stop manufacturing? There was something wrong with them. What was wrong?
He said they just didn't make them anymore. It's another drug out there. So since then, what I've started doing, even my private doctors, when they prescribe me something, I Google it. I want to know the side effects. is it outdated, or it's not being
Okay.
manufactured? I just ask more questions, and I'm like, and so when I went back and I saw that doctor, I was like, hey, why did you prescribe this? And he said something like the VA gets uh, a discount, a huge discount on older medications or something. And and I should have
What
asked more
does
questions
older
about it.
medication mean? Like, does that mean, what does that mean?
Yeah, I didn't, what? After that, I didn't ask questions. I was like, you know what?
Oh
I'm
God.
not. I say unless it says multivitamin, and I'm good, like the Nature's Own, where you can go in like CVS and Walgreens and get, you
Yeah.
know. But I'm looking at the expiration date and all that. But all that other stuff, I was like, no, no, nope, nope. And better
Okay.
they'll say I'm taking this, I'm taking that, and even some of my clients, I'm like, it was like I'm claiming this secondary because of this medication,
Yeah.
and I'll Google it. And I was
Okay.
like, have you Googled the side effects? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I just Googled your medication. Migraines, possible ramming your car into the brick wall at 30 miles an hour
Oh
when
my
it's
God, that is
75
like that
degrees outside
movie.
or something.
That movie, there was a movie that had a scene just like that. I think I could be wrong, but I think the movie was called Side Effects. Did you ever hear of it? In the opening, one of the opening scenes, this woman is like having a supposedly the way to frame it, a side effect to a drug, and she literally stepped on the gas and ran into a wall inside of a parking garage.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
It was a fake
Yeah.
movie, of course, but
Right. Yeah. But I just tell even clients, I just say, hey, whatever medications you get, especially for a service connected condition, prescribed at the VA, Google it. I even do it with my private doctor. I'm like, just Google it. My wife, she does it all the time. She was like, this medication that does this. And I'm like, really? Let me see that.
Real
Or
quick,
we,
Dwayne, another comment. Paul said, I have one that was on recall for cancer. I forgot which one it was, and that was a daily. Now, I don't know either, and I don't want to say the names of any drugs, so let's just like leave that out of this whole equation. But I will say that I've heard of some different drugs being on recall for things like that. And I've also passively, kind of just in passing, seen a motherload of law firms that are like, call us if you've taken this drug on blah 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 blah. And so there's something to some of that.
yeah, yeah. So, it's unfortunate, but, one thing I tell my clients always, they'll say, well, the VA did this or the VA did that. And I was like, okay, stop. What was your questioning when that happened? And it's like dead silence. I'm like, you have to, just because a VA employee tells you something, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
Ask questions,
Yeah.
complain about it, say something, or, get educated. So,
Yeah.
and I did a video and they were saying, oh, I talked about how to fail or not win your high level review appeals
Okay.
process. And some of the things I talk about is when people ask me questions, they'll say, oh, this person called. Okay, what was that person's name?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Which regional office did they work at? I don't know. What
Mm-hmm.
job title did they have? I don't know. And I'm like, literally, you were talking to somebody
You're
and you didn't.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right in every single thing you just said, Dwayne. And
Mhm.
those are things I've had to teach myself to do, to slow down, to stop, to think, and to basically take notes as I'm
Mhm.
going along. And I'd say it's really challenging for people to do, even if you're on your best day, because it's so frustrating. It's such a struggle. It's such a hardship. It's so stress inducing dealing with these kinds of frustrating problems all the time that this organization tends to create for people. And if you're not in a good way, if you're not in good health, which a number of
Right.
veterans we know aren't, it may be impossible. Like, for example, I go to my local VA, Alexandria, Louisiana VA, on average once a month for a specific department. The one that's great, by the way, the department that's great. And one thing I noticed, my husband took me there this last time, was that he was even noticing the visible poor health of the people coming out of this facility and going in. He was noticing it. And I was looking around thinking the same thing, that, and I remember when I worked at my first VA ever, that there is a large population of veterans utilizing the VHA because they don't have any other healthcare options and they are in really poor health condition. And this is their last stop before they die. And that is just the freaking truth. Harsh to say it out loud publicly, but true. It's visibly obvious. And I don't believe a number of them are in the condition or the health to advocate at this level that I advocate for myself. And I think that's also why, like in my region, why they're so taken back, because they're not used to it. They're not used to it. They're used to be able to do whatever they want to some of these people. And that's a problem when you're trying to take notes, like what you're saying about getting the name, what departments they work for. Because it's like that takes a lot of cognitive action going on there, you know?
Right. I even the last time I had interaction with patient advocacy department at the Tampa VA, I remember just asking some of those questions, and the lady they got hot. She got highly upset.
Really?
Like, well, you're being hostile on the phone. I'm like, I'm just, you know what? I felt I was treated a certain way.
Yeah.
The department you work in is patient advocacy. At least hear me out. Now I get that, they get, a lot of veterans calling,
incoming,
complaining. But, why is it that, if you decided to take that job, you knew what it entailed when you read that job description, either on the job board at the VA or talking to another coworker, hey, I'm gonna go apply for this higher GS position in patient advocacy to move up the ladder or wherever, you had to read the job description. So you knew that you were going to be interacting with several veterans, on a daily basis. So I talked to this individual, didn't get anywhere, asked to speak to the supervisor. So I'm just explaining to her, I'm like, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what I was trying to do. And I don't think that she was, listening to me. The supervisor was even worse. And I'm like,
really?
So at that point, who do you go to? So I just stopped. I was like, I'm never calling them again because they're not advocates. I understand that they're probably frustrated.
Yeah.
And then when I heard about the VA White House hotline, what I started doing was I stopped giving them my email address because what happens is they send that complaint over to the VA.
Okay.
It has your number on there. For the first couple of times, they just email me. Now, in that email, of course, my concerns weren't addressed. Something really vague. And then at the bottom it says, "Do not respond to this email."
I've seen that.
800-827-1000. Well, that's just a typical call center. That's some person sitting at home that can give you basic information about your claim. Maybe not has anything and they're not decision makers. They can't do anything except write down, put it in your claims file that you called it, and that's it. So the second time I said, you know what? I chose not to give you my email address. And the gentleman was really nice. And he said, well, why? And I told him what happened. And I said, I wanted a call back. I was trying to get the CD with all my VA claim information, VA file, VA claims folder information on it. And the supervisor actually called. I asked her, I didn't ask her last name because if I was working at the VA, I wouldn't give the person my last name. But she gave me her name.
Yeah, totally.
She gave me her job title. She gave me the location that she worked. And I was like, it's pretty much straightforward. I went in the system. You closed out my FOIA/privacy request on the 3rd. It states give the VA 10 days. It is now the 21st of the month. So you had enough time. I need this CD. I've been waiting 11 months. A week and a half later, I got the CD in the mail. She was really nice, really helpful. And I did a video on my YouTube channel. I was just telling a client about this today on December 27th, where I talked about, can you file a complaint? Then can you do an inquiry before the VA? And I tell veterans, if you get somebody from the VA on the phone, things that you do and things that you don't want to do. Sometimes, especially with veterans I talk to, they get really long-winded. Well, let me just tell you my story. No, you're talking about a 45, 50-minute conversation. That's time that I could be talking to an actual client. So you have to be educated on what you're doing with that complaint, and what type
I
of
think
resolution do you think you want?
I think a lot of this is that certain veterans, like the ones you're talking about, because I've heard like VA Madness Eugene, when I spoke to him, I think offline a while back, he was telling me the same thing when he communicates with veterans, that they'll be doing the same thing you're talking about. And I think a lot of it is just pent up, built up,
Oh yeah,
for maybe months or years, and then they're just unloading on whoever will listen. And that is really where competent professional counseling services come in, where these people need to be going to competent professional counselors that can spend an hour with them weekly, just letting them air it all out, because that's the place for it, not with the people you're talking about.
right. And even some of my subscribers on the last, I think last Wednesday when I did a YouTube live, I said, hey, how many people would like to see me? I only do it once a month. I was like, but
Yeah.
I want to get a kind of feedback on um, if people want to see this more than once a month. And
Yeah.
it's not a complaining session. We all got to learn from each other. We got to,
Yeah.
what maybe work for me may not work for you, but somebody
Mhm.
else may have a different experience at a different location that you go to, and those
Yeah.
things that we can talk about, because it's all about networking and
Yeah, I
communicating with
agree.
each other. Like
I
even
agree.
you, I mean, you probably, for every video I do, I think you're probably putting out 20. I see it pop up all the time. You're
Well,
just all this information. I always look because I'm like, man, this video. And I remember the first video that you did that I watched, it was about the VA White House hotline. I'm like,
mm.
why did it only have like 9 views? And it had been up like a week. And I'm like, and I responded,
It's
and that's
that
how
pesky
we,
algorithm. But now, since I went past my measly 100 subscribers, which not to say measly if you're a subscriber, no offense, everyone. Okay, I'm not trying to offend you, but
right.
like Dwayne, last I checked, had over 6,000.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just
on
went
his
over
YouTube,
7,000 this past weekend.
7,000.
Yeah, this past weekend. But you put a lot of good information out, and I try and watch them. I see I'm
You'll
connected with
exhaust
you
yourself.
on
You got to pace
LinkedIn,
yourself on that.
and I see, but sometimes I subscribe to the channel, so even channels I subscribe, I'll try and look at the entire video, listen to it
Mm-hmm.
while I'm looking or doing some work or something like that, because I
Mm-hmm.
use
I do the
two
same
screens.
thing. I
Yeah,
do the same
but
thing with different video creators. But what I was to say is that one of the reasons it looks like I create so many videos, which I have in the past, is because like this video right here, we're at like 1 hour, 13 minutes and counting. I'm literally going to, when I have time, so I'm not gonna give you a timeline on this. I'm literally going to do the same thing I do on my other videos. I'm gonna look at the topics and I'm gonna splice it down. And there's probably gonna be like 20 videos coming out of this, because it's gonna be by like
right,
topic, but maybe 2 minutes, because I want the information to reach people. And I know that a 2-minute video is likely gonna be more digestible than the 1 hour video. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of looks
right,
like there's more that I'm doing than what I'm actually doing, but I'm planning on only doing one filming session per month on VA topic now. And then maybe I'll break it down to more, but that's it. Like I got to put a limit on this because it is like a compulsion for me.
yeah. I look at videos, and some of the ones that are trending on. I just did a 4-part series. Step
Mm-hmm.
1, step 2, step 3, step 4 on the process.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What is the first thing that you do when you claim? Getting the conditions. Where do they fall under the 5 ways to service connection? Then
Mm-hmm.
step 2, what
Mm-hmm.
prescribed forms do you need? Step 3, CNP exams, versus DBQ. Step 4,
Mm-hmm.
what is the difference between a notification letter and a rating decision?
Oh God,
And
that's
those,
just so tiring just listening to all that. I'm just like, oh man.
but each video, the longest video is, I'm looking at now, 19 minutes and 41 seconds. The shortest one is 11. Because I'm trying to keep them around 15 minutes because the analytics show how long the average time. And then
Yeah.
I interviewed an accredited lawyer. That video did really well, is outperforming any of those 4 videos. And I see other videos like, oh, you're going to get a COLA increase on your service connection compensation next month.
Mm-hmm.
You see some of those videos are 60,000 videos because they're talking about money. And I'm
Right.
like,
No, I get
think
it.
think about the other videos to even get you to that point. To
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
10%. 30%, wherever you feel that you fall.
Yeah.
It's good to get a COLA increase, but that doesn't make a difference if you can't get service connected for anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm really
So
not concerned about analytics too much. I do check on them just because I'm a numbers person, to be completely frank with you. But it's just the way my mind works. But ultimately, I make the videos and the podcasts I want to make. I'm really being true to myself, that are of interest to me, that I have a lot of experience, knowledge about, and not just VA topics, but other stuff too. I'm getting I'm getting trained for family court mediation in Florida, your state. And so I'm sure I'll be doing some videos about that soon. But I will say though, the algorithm, and I've heard about this from many other people on YouTube and elsewhere. Because I had a YouTube channel as well, and I noticed both times once I surpass that 100 number, all of a sudden the people just start finding you because they're putting that in your channel out there more. And I heard once you get past like 1,000 subscribers, that all of a sudden it's like you're just more popular out of nowhere. And so I think it's a lot of numbers triggering that algorithm just magically once they hit. You know what I mean?
Right. The biggest thing that I look at in analytics is the viewing time. Because I'm like, okay, instead of doing one 30-minute video, which if people watch on average of 12, 15 minutes, then I can shorten, pick two topics and, shorten my research.
Yeah.
And instead of having one 30-minute video, I can have two 15-minute videos about something different, so I look at it. So from that time, and then, I'm like, okay, I can put out more content on different topics as it pertains to, the benefit side. Do I look at I think somebody told me, oh man, you went over 6,000 subscribers. I'm like, oh, I did. And I think when I first started the YouTube channel, I looked at it, but now I really don't. Because I try to go through, I look at the viewing time, and then every morning I wake up, I try and go through and respond to comments. I take 15 minutes, I'll respond to comments. And if something pops up during the day and I'm not doing anything, I'll respond to the particular subscribers, whoever watched the video, their comment, and that's pretty much it. Or I'll look to make sure, okay, did I get the thumbnail right? Put the correct information in the description section, that I'm talking about in the video, and then I just shared, throughout other social media, and just to trying to connect with as many veterans as I can.
Yeah. When it comes to comments, I like the YouTube has the option where you can hold them all for review. And I've been doing that forever because I don't like the scammers and the spammers with their little spammy links trying to hook people in. So like I delete all those. And anyone who we talked to this before who's uncivilized, as I call it, the uncivilized people, they do not, I don't respond. Like I'm not even using up my energy. I got enough drama with the VA. I'm not going to respond. They just won't be getting posted. You mean to me? You attack people? Delete, and block.
Right. You're going to like those. A VA, I assume that they were a VA employee that came and left this huge comment.
That's ballsy.
Oh, yeah. And normally normally I wouldn't have responded to it. But what they said was, I was talking about, the VA has these DBQs, disability benefit questionnaires. You can take them off the website, take them to your private doctor. So I was saying, can you refuse a CMP exam, a compensation and pension exam at VHA when you have an actionable and sufficient DBQ? And so I was talking about the DBQs and just trying to give a little bit of information on what makes them actionable and sufficient. So this person, their lingo, that VA language led me to believe that they were VA employee. And they said, well, you're compounding to the problem. I said, no, I'm not compounding to the problem. I'm exposing the problem because VSRs are requesting these exams when they don't have to. And when the veteran goes to that exam, your doctor's information is positive. That third-party contractor that doesn't treat you, that will never, ever treat you, that won't ever see you again, that information is negative, and that rating specialist is using that to possibly deny the veteran an increase or actual service connection. So I'm just saying, hey, make your, become educated with whichever route you go. So I posted, I think I took screenshots of the M21 manual 38 CFR, and I'll
Oh
talk
my
about it
God. You
in my,
so much time and energy you did
yeah.
that.
But I tell people, and I get good responses. They're like, man, the way you broke it down, I understood it. And
Yeah.
I went to that M21 and I read it, and I was like, wow, So I want them, and I tell people, when I post a video and I put slides in it, I took some time to research that.
You do. You're something else. And you got one heck of a memory about you. I mean, I remember when I did that interview, I'm like, even when I went back to edit it, I'm just like,
like,
oh
wow,
my God. Like, how does he remember? How does anyone even want to be able to remember like you remember? It's incredible.
Right. So that's what, I tell people, and it's all about being educated, so being able to, one, find that information and then interpret. So I try to use examples, like again, the 38 CFR, the M21, or then I was like, okay, what other tools that I have at my disposal that I could use as slides or information in the, particular videos. So a lot of people really appreciate it. So I'm like, I want to know, okay, are people watching it? And one of my employees we were doing a live stream. He says, you know what? These videos, if you have a job and you're sitting there and you're able to just listen, you don't have to see us. Just listen to what we talk about. If you're working evenings or nights and, you're just sitting, watching the computer monitor or people walking by or whatever, and you had that free time, cut it on and just listen. A lot of valuable information. And I
No,
think
I totally agree with you.
veterans, they'll sit there and they'll watch these videos about, oh, we're going to get a higher pay increase. Okay, that's coming regardless. If you don't have to tell me, okay, if it's coming, it's a 2% increase. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But again, how do you go from 10% to 100% if you deserve it? I think
Right.
that's what's really important,
Of course.
Yeah.
But what you're saying about, the information being out there, you just basically, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing here is you just have to be motivated to seek it and listen to it and absorb it. And for because there are people we know, right, that are like us that are capable of doing that. I always say, I tell my husband a lot, especially since I'm old enough to see, I'm 36 years old, I'm old enough to see like the internet progress to the information sharing and knowledge that's now out there. I tell my husband a lot, like, I've come to the realization that, like, yeah, the information on any topic could potentially be out there for the person or people, but that motivation isn't out there for everybody. You know what I mean? They can't give you that motivation.
Right. Right. So, I get a lot of, positive comments, but I just thought about that. And even I did a live stream, had a VA employee come on. Of course, they didn't use their name. So
Okay.
when they start talking and, in the comments, I was like, because I had like a 60-second delay. And I started seeing a lot of people respond to this person. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I go back to the timeline right quick and I look. And so I start asking them VA questions. I'm like, why is the VA doing this? So, why is the appeal department doing this? What do you think about this? Have they increased your quota? Is it hard for you to make your quota? So I'm throwing questions at them. They jump right out of the room. Didn't see them, anymore. So, I'm able to pick up on that VA language, and I'm just seeking information from them. I'm not asking them for their name. I'm like, hey,
Well, do you think that maybe they're afraid, like they jumped out because they're afraid of their identity being linked?
But they don't have their name. It's just like,
No, I totally get what you're saying, but I was just wondering what the motivation would be.
Yeah, it could have been because a lot of other people that tuned in, they start asking that person questions. Why have this? Why have this? Why this happened?
Oh, I see.
But I think they
I get
probably
it.
jumped out and they dialed in on that when I started asking those questions. So they were probably like, I bit off a little bit more than what I could chew.
Yeah, I could see
Because
that.
I've been in other people's live streams and the YouTubers, they know me or know my channel, and they'll post my question, and then I'll start getting a lot of questions. I'm like, and I'm not here to take over this person's live stream, ask them the questions. I'm just maybe providing the answer to, to somebody else's question that they posted.
Yeah. So quick question before I wrap it up, because I need to get home, and it's like I've been in the office literally all day. I was actually working earlier doing some training stuff that I need to do for work. And so I wasn't even planning on hopping on here. It just happened because I was like, you know, if I don't
like I said, I saw you. I was headed to the gym, so I still got to go to the gym. And I was like, is she live now? She's been on for like 15 minutes. And I just
hopped on, and then I had technical glitch too. Like I had myself muted and I was talking for like a minute straight. I hate when I do that. Anyways, but I was, let's see. That's what I was gonna ask you. Yeah. I was hopping on though because I didn't want to forget all the stuff that I wanted to share. And I knew I'm only gonna do this like filming session once a month for now about the VA, because one person can only take so much. And but I wanted to ask, so I heard what you said about your experiences. If you don't feel like answering anything, just like it's totally fine. I won't be offended at all. Just tell me. But I heard what you said about your experiences like VHA as a patient veteran person. But like, so my question is, do you still like actively receive health services via the VA in one way or another, whether it's outsourced to community care or whether it's inside their facilities? Do you currently still do that for, you know, as needed?
Yeah, I do. I do, because there's still some departments that I believe, you know, like my primary care physician, we got off on a rough start. And
oh boy.
I was like, you know, I told him, I say, why? I feel like you're rushing me. Why, you know, I come in here and I'm, you know, I talk to you and you're like, oh, you're rushing me. And he was honest. He was like, we have an hour to see each veteran. And I'm like, okay.
That's a lot compared to other like healthcare systems. Others, it's like 10 minutes.
Right. So I told him, I say, we got 30 minutes. He was like, no, that clock starts to tick when you come back. So that's the nurse's time, weighing you, checking your blood pressure, asking you why you're there, then him coming in, of course, you know, breathe in, breathe out. What do you got going on? Him typing notes up, and then any follow-up they have. That's the entire time. So I was like, okay. I was like, wow, really? So we kind of sat there and talked about that for a minute. I was like, okay, well, what I'll do is, I'm real big on process improvement methodologies. I was like, okay, how about I just email you what I have going on before I even come in for my annual physical? He was like, that would be great. And it cut down the time.
What I do, and I've been doing this long before the VAs, I make a list. I love my list. I make a list of why I'm there before I get there. And I walk in with my list, you know?
Right. So I email him, you know, I'm here for this. I'm gonna be there for this, and this. And, you know, I get my blood drawn like a week prior. And then I get there, I check in. So it helps, you know. So I'm like, what can I do to help him? Excuse me, because I'm thinking, man, only an hour. You see all these vets a day, every day. So I'm like, what can I do as a veteran to help him out? And he's been my primary care for maybe the last 4 or 5 years. So now
that's good. I mean, at least it worked out for you.
Right. I use My Healthy Vet. I email him. I'm like, hey, I need this. I need that. Can you put a referral in for this? And so now the nurse, she'll email me back. She was like, yep, it's in. Or like the inserts I was saying earlier, she was like, hey, your referral is still good until November. I was like, so can I go to she was like, call prosthetics. And then I'm thinking, I can just go right over to outpatient clinic. And as long as I get there before 4 o'clock, because, man, you know, them government employees, they get off at 4 o'clock. 401. They're burning rubber through the
So it sounds like it's going well then. So you're able to use it and it's moving along as you need it to for your healthcare.
Yeah, it's gotten better. At first, it was rough just because those certain departments, like I was telling you know, just those individuals. You know, it's just, and I had to take a step back and understand that when I was a VA employee, because when I was interacting with veterans on the VBA side, you know, a conversation or even on the phone, it went something like, you filth and bleep and, you know, it was just like,
I'm not that bad. I gotta give kudos to myself. They think I'm bad. I'm not that bad. I'm pretty civilized. I'm civilized.
So I knew I had to, instantly jump into a mode that where I knew that it wasn't directed to me personally because it's the system, and I went through that system.
You were able to compartmentalize,
right? And I understood what they were going through, so I let them vent that frustration because I'm like, okay, I have to take the brunt of it because somebody else, another VA employee.
You seem very resilient, Dwayne. You seem very resilient. Because I remember in my earlier conversation with you when you talked about all the stuff you dealt with those heavy workloads of the VBA, and you went into great detail in our other video, which I'll link and reference just so whatever platform you're on, check out the description around our heads. It'll show up somewhere. You come across as really resilient because I'll be honest with you. I'm not that, I don't think I'd be that resilient, and most people wouldn't be, to withstand that level of stress and pressure for years, which you did.
So, in that particular job, I was told you have to be an advocate for the veteran because the veteran can't speak for themselves. Their paperwork speaks for them. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, I went 12 years and didn't even know I could get these benefits. Mm-hmm. Didn't even know I could get any treatment at the VHA. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking about, what about other veterans out there? And even started my business. I was like, I did an interview this morning. I went through this veteran entrepreneurship program. They were like, hey, why did you start your business? I was like, because working in that system, it took me 4 years to maximize my benefits. Mm-hmm. And I was highly frustrated. And I started to feel that the VA turned their back on me. That was the initial feeling. But then I thought about it. I was like, no, it wasn't the VA. It was some of the individuals in management that turned their back on me. Because if you go to town hall and be like, oh, it's about the veterans, thank you for your service. But then behind the scenes, you're saying, hey, what's the status of this veteran claim? We just need to get them an answer. Well, I need more time and more development to do it. Well, we've had it. Well, I don't care. I'm putting my name on it, things like that. And so I was like, instead of lashing out at the system and just like, I was like, okay, let me be methodical in my thinking. And that's some of the things that I talk to my clients about. I talk to my subscribers about. I know you're upset. Put that aside for a second and see how you can maneuver through this process based on what they give you. And you can do it. You just have to be patient because nothing is going to happen overnight. And once you get that information and when you start seeing things clicking, you're like, now I got it. Now I got it. So when I was able to do that, working in the system, I was able to be successful. And it just got to a point to where I was like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable rushing through these claims. One, getting quality errors, and two, the non-vet stuff because I haven't had enough time. I was like, I'm not going to do it because I went through it and I wouldn't want anybody to do that to my claim, even though I felt like some of them did. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I need to take a step back. And that's when I decided to leave, but I still want to work with veterans. And I was like, in what capacity? What can I do? And then that's when I started my business and thus, doing the YouTube videos because I want to educate them so they all can be successful. Even people, they leave comments and say, hey, I watched this video. I watched the videos and they helped me get over that 90% over to 100% based off, a video that I shared. And they say, hey, I saw this slide and I understand the 38 CFR now. So I'm like, you know what? I was able to educate them to be successful. In that case, take that education and go help another vet.
I just realized I still have the banner from way back when for your YouTube channel. So I actually just put that up here. I guess I didn't delete it because a lot of times I clear out everything. I did delete a lot of things like the overlays, but I didn't delete that. So there was the information for his YouTube channel. So you can check that out. And as everybody that follows me knows, I'm on like all the platforms. I'm not just on one. Okay. So if you want to listen to the podcast, I'm anywhere your podcast can be found, Hello Vanessa Media, and I'll be breaking this video up into segments over the next number of days and weeks when I have time to do it. And Rumble, YouTube, LinkedIn, that's where it's at. And that's Dwayne's YouTube channel. For those of you listening to the podcast, youtube.com/Dwayne Kimball. That's
Yep.
DEWAYNEKIMBLE. And to end on a positive note, I will say, because I don't want to be, a real downer over here, although I know I can be. And I say that, my goal of my videos, while to appease my own compulsion to do them in podcasts, is also to be as concise as possible and pulled together as possible, so as not to rant and rave like a crazy person over here. But I will say on a positive note that fortunately the VA as a whole has been forced by Congress and others to clean up its act on a lot of different levels. And there's more, I'd say, checks and balances or ways to avenues to go about airing grievances than there ever were before, which I think puts pressure on getting things resolved, even for people that want nothing to do with resolution. And I will say, just in my own experiences as a veteran, though, other areas of the VA, I feel like, have become a lot more respectable and respectful in their communication with me, I know, than what I dealt with like 8 years ago. And there's been a lot more, like, certain areas of the VA, not the VHA in my area, but certain areas of the VA are recording those phone calls. Thank you, Jesus. And so they have cleaned up their act because of that, I've noticed. So that's a positive note.
Yep. And also, I just want to let anyone know, if you're in the Tampa area this weekend, I'm doing a live event. It's going to be about 3-hour training. It's going to be a free event. You can go to my website at kmd89.com, kmd89.com, and you can sign up. It's going to be at HCC Del Mabry campus at 9
Is that
a.m.
right?
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Yep. KMD89.com.
There you go.
So they can sign up there. We're going to limit it to seating because of Florida's being one of these hot spots for COVID. So we didn't know if we were going to put it on in person and make it virtual. So I'm just going to restrict it to a small group. But we're going to, have, like I said, it's going to be free. Normally I do it online, but I wanted to do it in person. So definitely, if you're in the Tampa area, if you're a veteran or a family member of a veteran, come out, support, and just get educated. Don't be frustrated. Get educated.
Okay. Well, if you're me, you're in a perpetual state of frustration and irritation. But it's all about, this is why I wrote this, anger management or irritation management.
Yeah, there it is.
I should call it frustration, irritation management. All right, Dwayne. Well, it's been real. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast. I'm